Hey everybody, this video is all about cutting month 8 for the Eleanor Burns method. I think the cutting's easier because you don't have to cut as many squares. My favorite method for flying geese is Eleanor Burns, and this month we're doing a 2x4, which is going to be found on the end of this ruler. You can also use the 2x4 block ruler to trim these. The only reason you really need the ruler is to do the trimming. Okay, now to get a 2x4 finished flying goose, the cutting on these is a little different from the no waste method, which is why we have a separate video. So we will do another video on the actual making of the geese, but right now we're just going to talk about cutting. The first color you're going to cut is color number 1, and Michelle is going to angle the camera down so you can see what I'm doing. And so this is our color number 1. And what we have to do for the Eleanor Burns is we have to cut a 7-inch square and a 5.5-inch square. Before I can cut any kind of square though, I need to get what we call a clean cut edge. So I just have it laying horizontally, and I'm going to place the ruler down. I'm not lining up with anything other than I'm trying to make it look straight, and I'm going to cut a straight edge here so that I have something to measure from. Now, what I'm going to do, I always try to cut my biggest pieces first, so I need a 7-inch piece. So I'm going to find the 7-inch line on my strip ruler here. Make sure it follows on the edge. I am not using the mat in any way other than for my rotary cutter. I'm using strictly my ruler, and I'm going to cut a 7-inch piece, and then I'm going to cut a 5.5-inch piece, because we need a 7-inch square and a 5.5-inch square. Okay, so now I have a 7-inch piece and a 5.5-inch piece. I'm going to turn this on the side, and again I'm going to, now when I clean cut this edge, I am going to line my straight edge of my ruler up on the cut edge that I just cut, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this edge. So now this is straight and this is straight. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to a square ruler, which makes it a whole lot easier because I can cut my other two sides with it. I'm going to find my 7-inch intersection. So I have, get it lined up, 7 here, I have 7 here. Anything that sticks out on any of the other two sides can be cut off. Now I know I have a very straight 7-inch square. Her method allows you to make, what happens is the blocks will be bigger than they need to be, and then you can cut them, trim them down, which is, while it's important this be 7-inch square, there's a little bit of wiggle room, so not as critical. Now I'm going to do the same thing for this piece for the 5-inch square. I'm going to clean cut one edge, this edge. I'm going to take my ruler, going to find my 5-inch line. I've got 5 inches, I've got 5 inches. Now I can do this, and I've got a 5-inch square. Okay, so those are what you're going to do with color number 1. Color number 2 is a strip. You're just going to trim this down to 2.5 inches. Don't worry about the length. We're going to strip piece this and you'll subcut it. Color number 3 is going to be your center square, and you're going to cut this down to 4.5 inches. And again, I would use my square ruler for this. And then the real reason for this video is this big piece, which is your background piece. And we are going to take this, and it's going to go on the mat so that the 15.5 direction is this way and the 13.5 is this way. And the reason that's important is because you need to be able to get all your pieces out, and if you start cutting the other way, you're not going to have enough fabric. So again, one of the first things I'm going to do is, you can see when I pre-shrunk this how wonky it got. And that's the purpose of pre-shrinking, is to get all that wonky out before you construct your block. So I am going to find a straight line that I can put on this edge, and this is why we give you extra fabric. So if you get wonky, you have the ability to trim it off. Now, the first thing I want you to cut, the idea of this, if you look at the cutting instructions that we have online, is we're going to do a 7-inch square and the 5.5-inch square here. So we're going to take our 7-inch line on our ruler and put it on this edge, and the first thing we're going to do is cut a 7-inch piece. That way we don't have to worry about getting into this by accident, and we're going to take and flip this over. I'm aligning now. I want to make sure my straight line is here and it's also straight to there because it's both cut, and I am going to cut this first edge. Now I can switch again to my square ruler. I've got that corner square. I can line my 7-inch square up right there, there, square, square. I'm going to cut this one, and then in this corner I'm going to cut my 5.5. Find that, line that up, make sure it's still square, and it is, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. That's not square. I obviously measured wrong. But you get the idea. That one's 5.5. Then you're going to cut the remaining large piece into 3 2.5-inch strips. The first 2.5-inch strip is going to get paired with the color number 2 to strip piece, and the remaining 2 will be cut into 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangles. Okay? And let me go back and figure out what I did wrong and recut this, but you get the idea of how you want to get it cut.